Quilty friends, I'm Natalia and I am beyond words excited to be here today and to officially introduce you to my stitch along, Let's Stitch, where for 365 days I'm going to be sharing a video, a machine quilting video tutorial here on YouTube with each of you so that you can learn how to quilt with machine quilting rulers. So super duper excited. I'm going to tell you all the basics, kind of the tools and all the things that you'll need first. Then we'll jump over to my machine and I will walk you through some basics that you really need to know before you start any ruler work. Now, before I actually get to the video, there are a couple of things that I want to tell you about. First of all, everybody is invited to stitch along and sew. There is no cost to you to watch the videos. The only things that you need are a machine in good working condition that you know how to use, and with the ability to drop the feed dogs. You'll also need, if you're working on a domestic machine, a ruler foot. Or on a long arm, you'll also need a ruler foot. You'll need a few other accessories on the long arm, and I will show those when we hop over to the machine. So, those of you, I know I have lots of friends out there that also quilt by computer. You are using your computers to stitch out designs. You're also welcome to join along and stitch with us. Along with this stitch along, besides having a video every single day, there are PDFs that are available for purchase for each of the patterns, and then also the digital files for these machine quilting designs for all of my computerized quilting friends are also available for purchase for a very, very small fee. So let's get to some of the other goodies that you will need for this super fun, exciting, I'm so excited stitch along. Okay, so first up, you're going to need a machine quilting ruler. In all of these videos, all the tutorials, I am going to be using one of my machine quilting rulers. So you've probably all seen my 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler or my trailer machine quilting ruler. These are two of my very favorite machine quilting rulers. I will be using one of these rulers, or I do have a new ruler coming out soon that I will officially introduce to you. It's called Inside Out. I will officially introduce that to you once it's available for purchase, once you can pick it up. So look for that, it will be coming. All right, so when you're quilting with rulers, there are a few things that you really need to know and become aware of. Yes, you can use these on your domestic machine or the long arm machine, but something I do want you to notice and pay attention to with machine quilting rulers, these rulers are thick, heavy duty, high quality acrylic rulers. So you do not want to use a rotary type ruler when you're attempting machine quilting with a ruler. If you do and something happens, if that needle or if the ruler pops up onto the hopping foot or anything, things can happen. If for some reason that happens, most likely you're going to break one of your rotary rulers if you're using those. So machine quilting rulers are thick. They're actually 1/4 of an inch thick. So you can see how it's a really nice, thick, strong edge that is made to glide right next to your ruler foot. So you need to make sure that you do have a machine quilting ruler. Now, this is my 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler. It has some awesome curves to it and a really fabulous straight line. I know this is really difficult to see in the video, but I will do several designs throughout this whole stitch along where I will use the markings that are here on the machine quilting ruler. So what I want you to pay attention to, most machine quilting ruler feet are made so that the outside of the foot to this line right here, to the outside of your ruler, is 1/4 of an inch. So from your needle to the outside of that foot on most machines, most ruler feet, is 1/4 of an inch. So when you look at this ruler and you see the markings on here start at 1/2 inch, the 1/2 inch is measured from your needle position. So I want that to be really clear so you don't try to cut a quilt or something like that with this ruler and think, oh my gosh, everything's off. Make sure that you're aware that this measurement is measured from your needle position. And as I go through the tutorials, you'll see, okay, this is why I would want my markings to be like that. So in a few of the videos, you will notice that I am going to have some grip material on the back of my ruler. So this right here is the Westerly staple tape. Have a little bit of it right here. We do have this for purchase on our website, peaceandquilt.com, but you'll see in some of the videos, sometimes, especially quilting on a domestic machine, when you're starting out, it's really helpful to have some type of a stabilizer on the back of your ruler to help keep things nice and still. You'll see that rulers can start to slip. They're really slippery and they can slide around. So stable tape on the back can be a really helpful tool. A few more things that you may be interested in. If you haven't ever checked out any of my books before, if you are just starting into this whole machine quilting journey, if you're just as excited as I am, make sure you do check out my books. So I have Beginner's Guide to Free Motion Quilting. That was my first machine quilting book. Then I've also got Next Steps in Machine Quilting, where I do have quite a bit of ruler work in this book. So check that one out. I also have Visual Guide to Free Motion Quilting Feathers. In this book, I just talk about feathers, so a little bit different from what we'll be doing in the stitch along. I also have a brand new book coming out this summer. It'll be out in August 2019 called Visual Guide to Creative Straight Line Quilting. So even though I'm going to show you a lot of designs over the next year, my new book, Visual Guide to Creative Straight Line Quilting, shows a whole lot more designs that are not only for blocks, but also background fillers, borders, things like that. So make sure you also check out that book. I really think when you start using rulers and straight lines and things like that, that we're going to get into, the possibilities are endless. It's a great place to master machine quilting, to gain control of your machine, to really be able to achieve some precision that sometimes with regular free motion type quilting is kind of a little bit more challenging, even though I love them both. Okay, so the next thing that I'm super excited to tell you about, giveaways. So every single week, 52 weeks, one whole year, we are going to give away prizes to anybody that stitches along. Well, okay, one person every week. We will choose one winner each week that will be selected and receive a prize if you stitch along that week and share your videos on Instagram and use the hashtag Let's Stitch with Natalia. So you have to use this hashtag. You also have to make sure if you're posting your pictures on Instagram using the hashtag that your posts are public. If they're private, I'm not ever going to see them, so we can't select you as a winner. So make sure that you're using the hashtag on Instagram and sharing your posts. You know, I know that there's some of you that, or a lot of you probably, you're thinking, Natalia, I cannot load a quilt on my machine and leave it on there for a whole entire year. Don't worry. You could stitch along at the end of each month. You could even wait a month or two and then stitch a whole bunch of designs. This is not a race, but if you do stitch along each week, you will be entered to win the prizes. And they are going to be really awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, so in a few of the videos, on a few of the blocks, I will be marking. I do a lot of marking on my quilts. If you've watched other quilts, other of my videos that I've shared, I do a lot of marking. My very favorite thing to use to mark is the Mark Be Gone markers. Like most of these products I'm sharing with you, we do have these available on our website, peaceandquilt.com. So on some of the darker blocks, I'll use the white, and then on some of the lighter blocks, I'll be using the blue Mark Be Gone marker. Now, how do I remove the markings on my quilt? I'm going to post a link below where I do have a tutorial that I walk you step by step how to easily remove the Mark Be Gone markings from your quilt tops forever. So don't worry, this will disappear as long as you don't heat set it. Now, along with that, my favorite tool to use to remove the markings is one of these mister bottles. These things, we use them for everything in my house, not just sewing. I use them to do my kids' hair. I use them for everything. They are amazing. Pick one of these up. You're missing out if you don't have one of these. But that is what I will use to remove the spots, with a little formula that I link in the video below. Okay, so what else? Well, I have this super cute shirt on today. You know, I just like to keep things fun, spice things up a little bit. So we do have a few Let's Stitch t-shirts available over on our shop if you want to check one of those out. You can wear it while you're stitching along with me. And who knows, maybe if you share a picture of that, you might win a prize. Okay, so the threads that I'm going to be using. I love these threads. This is my go-to combination. On the sample behind me, I'm actually going to be using the color number 402 on the top, and on my bobbin, I'm using the color number 624. So what kind of threads are they? So Fine by Superior Threads is what I'll be using on the top. Bottom Line, also by Superior Threads, is the thread that I will be using on my bobbin. So like all the other products available on our website, check those out, pick them up, they're amazing. And on to the last thing before we get to the machine, this panel. So you can see a little panel right here behind me. I'll share another one. There's lots of different colorways that you may want to check out. Now, these are totally optional. Don't feel like you need to purchase these, but if you don't feel like piecing anything, the panels are a great way to go. So they're pre-printed panels. They're digitally printed. You order them. They do take about 2 weeks to get to you. So plan accordingly. But they're just really nice to have all of your shapes already all printed. You don't have to do any sewing. Get that panel and you're ready to start stitching. If you do choose to use these panels for the stitch along and you do stitch all 365 designs, you will need 7 of those panels. So just a little warning there if you do decide to do that. However, if you don't want to use one of these panels, if you want to piece your own top, if you want to just use solid fabrics and draw squares on there, that works too. There's nothing wrong with it. All of my blocks on this pre-printed panel are 6-inch blocks. So 6-inch squares, circles, and triangles are what you'll need for the stitch along. And let's get over to the machine where I can show you a few basics that you really need to know about stitching with machine quilting rulers. All right, we've moved over to the machine, and these are a few basics that you really need to make sure you've got before you do any machine quilting on a long arm with machine quilting rulers. So you can see here that I have the extended base plate on my machine. I do all of my machine quilting on a Gammill 22-inch machine, and this is one of the versions of the extended base plate. So why do I need an extended base plate? When I'm working with rulers, I need a nice flat surface so that even though my quilt sandwich is going to go right through this area, by having this nice flat working surface, I can hold my rulers flat on this surface and not have to worry about them tipping off or falling off or something funny like that. So I've also got a ruler foot on here. You can see that my ruler foot is a nice thick foot. It's more than 1/4 inch thick in height right here. Goes all the way around. The other thing that I mentioned, from my needle position here to the outside of my foot is 1/4 inch. Now we'll move over onto the quilt. There's a couple of things that I do want you to know and see about machine quilting with rulers. When you're starting out quilting, something that you need to always make sure that you remember when machine quilting with machine quilting rulers is to estimate 1/4 inch away from the point that you want your stitching to intersect. Wait a minute, hold on, what does that mean? Okay, so here's what it means. I am holding my trailer machine quilting ruler on here on this 6-inch block on my panel, and I want to stitch a straight line from corner to corner. Now, if I was using a regular ruler and marking something, I would hold my ruler and line it up and mark point to point across. Now you can see as I come to this corner up here, now, because I lined my ruler up with the corner, my stitching is actually going to be 1/4 inch away from that corner. That's not what I want to happen. So when I'm holding my ruler, I need to hold my ruler so that it intersects 1/4 inch away from that corner. So you can either eyeball it. All right, that looks like 1/4 inch. Now I could stitch along here. However, the trailer machine quilting ruler has these little notches at the end of it. So I can use the trailer ruler and line this little notch here at the end of the ruler up with that corner. I can stitch along, gliding right along the straight edge until I get almost to that corner, then slightly adjust my ruler and continue stitching to the corner. That little notch right there will help me gain almost perfect straight lines. All right, so a couple other things that I had mentioned. Make sure you're noticing the markings on the machine quilting ruler. This first marked line on my ruler is a 1/2 inch from my needle position. Now, when you actually start quilting with machine quilting rulers, remember we've got our nice flat extended base plate on here. So I have a nice flat working surface. The next thing that you will notice as I'm stitching these designs, I will hold my ruler with my left hand. I am right-handed, so I'll hold my hand like this on my ruler. From there, I will hold my machine with my right hand, my machine handle, and apply gentle pressure. So I know that when you're holding a ruler and your first time to do this, you want to hold really tight pressure and really solid, firm pressure on there. However, the more pressure you're applying, probably the more out of control your quilting may actually become. So I'm applying gentle pressure down. I'm also applying gentle pressure against the side of my foot. By applying that gentle pressure, I'm holding things nice and stable, and then my machine will just gently glide against that ruler right there. Now, this is such gentle pressure that I'm applying here that my pinky can actually pull my machine along this nice straight line right there. So those are just a few basics about machine quilting with rulers. Make sure you come back June 1st. Subscribe to this channel, check out the blog. We even have a Facebook group where you can share your pictures, and you will not want to forget to use the hashtag on Instagram and share your progress each week. I can't wait for June 1st to stitch along with each of you.